I got an Armored Core 6 build to help you all beat this freaking game. So let's talk about it. This build does not require a lot of hard-to-get pieces. In fact, most of the stuff you get is available after Chapter 1. This build relies on short range and some melee accoutrements. So let's get into it so I can help you all get further in this game and beat some bosses or encounters you may be struggling with. The main, bread and butter here will be the Zimmerman. The Zimmerman is a shotgun that you unlock, I believe, after you beat Baltius in Chapter 1. So once you beat Chapter 1, I believe this shotgun is available to you. It is very powerful because it has decent range, fires quickly, and, best of all, does an absolute smorgasbord of damage. This can take on most of the game, pretty much, with just a few alterations. Now, there's going to be another part to this build that we're going to show off right now. There's two arms that I want you to really invest in. These are the Nachtreicher. I'm pretty sure I butchered that. Germans, forgive me. Now, why do you want these arms? Well, if you hit triangle, or Y, or whatever button you have to throw up the additional stats, you'll see on the left here, we have two stats here we're going to pay attention to. We have Firearm Specialization and Melee Specialization. Firearm Specialization means higher value improves target tracking performance. This is good when you're shooting guns. Job done. But melee specialization is going to be the other bread and butter. This one, the higher the value, the more attack power for melee weapons. So if we're not using a melee weapon, you may want to use these arms for your firearm specialization, but for most of this build, we're going to require a different set of arms. This is just good if you're not having to use the pile bunker, which we'll get to in a minute. The other main set of arms that I want you to be on the lookout for and to get are the Basho arms. Now, why these arms? Do you see that melee specialization? You're gonna notice something. There's no other arm in the game that I'm aware of, and I'm pretty sure I have every arm, that has more melee specialization than the Basho arms. They are really, really, really freaking good when you're using a melee build, which, for most of the game, you may be utilizing if you're gonna follow this guide. Now, there's another piece to this puzzle that I want you to get. That is the pile bunker. The pile bunker is available right after Chapter 1, if I recall correctly. So pretty much all you need to do in order to get these pieces that you really need is to essentially just beat Chapter 1, which does require going against Baltius, who can be a wall for some people, but if you can get him down with at least a version of this build using lesser pieces, you'll be good to go. Because once you get the Ashmead, the pile bunker, the amount of damage you can bestow upon enemies with the pile bunker and Basho arms is absolutely ridiculous. Now, you may be asking, Jmulls, what am I going to do for the right back unit? And you can kind of throw whatever you want here. You can throw on, where is it? You can throw on the Songbird. Songbird is a decent chunk of damage. Just be warned that if you're using biped legs, that you'll pause in midair for a brief second while you fire the Songbirds. One of the things you can unlock later on in Chapter 4 are the laser drones. I like these because they hone in on a target and track them. But for the purposes of this video, I'll be very basic here and we'll use Songbird. Now, the rest of your gear, you can kind of go with whatever. For your booster, you just want to target your QB thrust. Now, why is that? Higher value, greater initial speed. That's what you're going to mainly care about. That's your quick burst. So on the dime, when you need a turn, when you need a maneuver, when you need to dodge a mechanic, you want more QB abilities so that you're able to, well, dodge attacks better. So just try and maximize those QB stats, in my opinion. QB thrust, QB jet duration being the two big ones. So we can go even for something like this, and just use whatever you have available to you right then. For your FCS, because you're using the shotgun, the Zimmermans, and you're using the pile bunker, what you're going to want to do is specialize on close range assist. So you want the one you have that is the higher value for that. For me, that's the FC006 Abbott. Just use whatever you have. You don't really need to overthink this. Generator, again, just use whatever you got available to you that is good and can generate the stuff you really care about. We can go with this, it's fine. The main bread and butter for this build, Basho arms with the Ashmead pile bunker and Zimmermans. Now, let's get into a level and let me show you what this build can really do. This is the final mission of Chapter 1. This is the one with Baltius. So what we're going to do is we're just going to play through this map, and I'm going to show you generally what I like to do with this build to take on things. So when we're about to get hit, and we hear a big attack coming in with that sound effect, we're just going to dodge with our quick burst. And we're going to use the Zimmermans for bread and butter here. Dodge behind the building to avoid getting hit. There we go. We're going to go all the way up here. You can fire both these at the same time for more, like, burst damage if you need to, and if you want to space out your shots, just do one at a time like that. They're very powerful. Most of the non-mini bosses or whatever will just go down like one hit to these things. They're really that strong. And I'm using the Basho arms here, so I'm not even like firearm specialization. It's just that these arms are really freaking good for melee, and when we come up against a fight that's going to require a large chunk of damage, we'll have that available to us. But the Zimmermans bring to the table a load of ammo. They're accurate, especially with the build I showed you at the beginning. And the Zimmermans overall are really freaking strong. So you can kind of just like breeze through most of this. If you want to be a little bit more optimal, you could. Just like playing your dodges and not get hit as much. And when needed, we have the songbirds available. See, that's the little like bit of lag you have to like suffer, because I'm using a biped armored core here. So just time your songbird or time whatever to when you don't have to be afraid of having to dodge something. And there you go. Songbirds do a lot of damage, especially early on. There's some better pieces later on, but for most of the early game, or even for like most encounters, songbirds will be fine. Just be on the lookout that you're specialized for close range, so maybe be closer to the target, so you don't always miss. Wait for like the target to like kind of pause or need to take a breather, and then fire the songbird out. Okay, we got a little mini boss here that we're about to absolutely annihilate. Honestly, I kind of struggle with this guy more than I do with Baltius at this point. Do you see the little like targeting reticle? You want it to be like right over the target. There you go. You can fire the songbirds out. They also do a lot of stagger damage, both the songbird and the Zimmermans. Now, pay attention to that stagger gauge. Because once we get this guy staggered again, I'm going to swap on over to the pile bunker. Here we go. Charge it up. And he missed. That's something you have to be on the lookout for when it comes to the pile bunker. It does have a bit of wind-up. So you got to, like, just time it better. Don't worry about having, like, min-max the amount of hits you can get. Because that was just a quick hit. And you saw the amount of damage it did. The Basho arms do so much more damage with pile bunker. It's insane. We just rolled over that guy. This build is incredibly strong. I did forget to mention there was one upgrade you need to get from the arena. It lets you use primary weapons on your shoulder. And then just with the shoulder button, you can swap your weapon out like that. That's what you're going to need for the pile bunker build. You can just run one Zimmerman if you want. Like, you can do that. It's just, personally, I prefer having two Zimmermans. This build is really good for, I want to say, like, 90% of the game. There's only a few encounters here and there where it's like, okay, you're going to be rewarded for a more long-range play. And in which case, you just go to, like, a laser rifle build or something along those lines. Just for that. But for most of this game, and for pretty much all the boss fights, this build can hard carry you. In a lot of ways. You just have to then understand the mobility and the movement in this game, and you'll be good to go. So, we're about to come against good old Baltius. Now, ideally, for this fight specifically, I would have brought one of those bubble guns. Just, like, take through the shield. But we can just work our way around that. Pay attention to EN. You want to make sure you always have a little bit of EN, so if you need to do a dodge or whatever, you have that available to you. Now, watch the amount of damage. That's how much damage the pile bunker can do. Especially for bosses where you can, like, for some of them, you can stun them for a decent chunk of time so you can get those pile bunkers in. You can absolutely rip and tear through certain boss fights. Baltius is one of them. See? We're over halfway percent. I haven't even needed to use a health bar yet. Now in phase 2 here, again, this could be another like tip I could give you at some later point, but I tend to find for a lot of these fights, like Baltius's fight, if you just learn to go up in the air and to fight in 3 dimensions, a lot of these fights kind of just like become way easier than you would probably think they would be. I missed my shot there, no worries, we just dodge again. There we go. You have to be a little bit on the lookout for Pile Bunker because you don't have that much range with it. You have to be like right up against their scrot for this. And if you're above the enemy, then just because of how lock-on works, it can be a little bit awkward to land those hits. I've only had to use 1 health stack so far, or 1 repair, and arguably I didn't even need to use that. I just want to be a little bit safe. The Zimmermans also can tear through these shields at a decent clip, like that. But again, you want to be close up, because otherwise these bullets will just like bounce off the target. But if you're up close like this, you can do a lot. There you go. I can hit him with like 1 more Zimmerman, and the fight is gone. With this build, you can focus way more. Instead of a long, drawn-out encounter, you can focus on your moment-to-moment mobility. Manipulate your quick bursts to dodge lethal or dangerous mechanics. And focus just on staying close to them, dodging their abilities, and just laying into them with the Zimmermans. When they get stunned, you hit them with the Pile Bunker, which does more damage because of the Basho arms, and you can chunk through bosses so quickly with this build. It's really powerful. By the way, that was an S rank. And the thing I'm talking about, I forgot to mention this way before. In order to have the Pile Bunker on your back shoulder here, you have to have one of these OS tuning abilities. Specifically this one, Weapon Bay. It's very easy to unlock. You only need to do like 1 or 2 arena matches, which are here. You just like bang a couple of these out. These are relatively easy to do. You probably already have done a few. And just unlock Weapon Bay. And then you'll be good to go. This build, I'm not joking. You can watch my stream VODs of this game. I used this build, or a variant of this build. This is more the one that I used, because laser drones are more like passive, and I can just like fire and forget about them. This is like the build that carried me through, I want to say like 85% of the game. If not more, like maybe 90%. It's an extremely powerful build, and if you're getting stuck on a certain fight or whatever, you can rock this build, and there's not really that much in the game that will not fall to pieces against this build. There's only a few maps where you kind of want to prioritize longer range weaponry. So yeah, that's the build. Hope that was of some help to some of you out there. There's other builds you can utilize in this game, absolutely. This is just one of my preferred ones, one of my favorite ones, because I found it to be a ton of fun. And if you're stuck on a particular fight or whatever, and you have access to these components that you get relatively early on in the game, because most of this stuff you unlock like near the beginning. Like right after chapter 1, just feel free to go grab these pieces of gear, slap them on, and go wreck some ACs. So I'm going to call the video there for the day. Thank you all for tuning in. My pleasure for making the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out and helps support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. Stay safe. Have a great day. Go play some video games if you can, and as always, I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Until we meet again.